Michael, let's start with you and tackle the fundraising part of it, where he said essentially that he doesn't need to raise, he's sort of distanced himself from it, doesn't need to raise $1 billion. What is that about?
Well, it's about a couple things here. One is he largely self-funded his primary campaign, used free media on cable to get his message out, didn't need to spend a whole lot, and really struck a chord with Republican voters by saying he wasn't beholden to special interests, he wasn't taking their money. That's changing now in the general election. It's a bigger election. He's got to reach more voters, but the campaign has struggled to put that apparatus together. And Trump has sort of shrugged that off, saying, hey, I don't need to raise $1 billion. I don't need to raise what Hillary Clinton's going to do or what Barack Obama and Mitt Romney did 4 years ago, because I'm a former reality TV star. My star power will attract the cameras, and I'll hold a news conference, and you guys will all come and
it's worked so far.
He said he wouldn't even need to raise half that. Now, you're suggesting that his tone was maybe a bit defensive because it's not quite clear whether he'll be able to, even if he wants to.
Well, he had made a comment earlier that he thought that they could do $1 billion. I asked him if he would commit to even half of that, and he wouldn't. And I think I think he wants to hold on to this message of that he's not, that he's a different kind of candidate. He's not going to be beholden to the lobbyists and special interests that have, ruined Washington and contributed to the gridlock in Congress.
Okay, so Jennifer, the other thing he talked about was also, which I thought was interesting, gave a little more clarity on who would be the team around him, right? So he talked about vice presidential picks.
Right. He said he has narrowed down his short list to 7 people, and he said those 7 people fall into, essentially he looked at 3 categories of people who are on his vetting list, and he said those categories are the politician, the military general, or someone in business. And he said flat out he does not want someone who is in business. He doesn't want anyone who's worked on Wall Street, so he ruled out that category. He said his short list has 2 members of the military, it sounds like generals, and he said it's less likely that he would choose one of those generals to be his final choice for his running mate. And so that leaves the last 5 as longtime politicians. And so he said if he had his preference, he would pick somebody who he gets along with personally, who he connects with on a personality level, someone who has a long time experience in Washington, D.C. He called it a professional politician,
right,
who knows the ropes. And he also said he'd like to have someone who has a strategic advantage, perhaps someone, from a key swing state.
And he mentioned that there were several former campaign rivals being considered, and I know you obviously tried to go through the process of elimination because you got him to say that Rick Perry would be fine, but in a non-VP administrative role.
Right. He ruled out Rick Perry as his running mate, but he said, listen, I like Rick Perry a whole lot. I think he's very smart. I think he's also very good on border issues, meeting, the border with with Mexico. But so he said he doesn't want Rick Perry as VP, but he would like to have him in his administration.
Okay, got to talk about some of the controversial remarks as of late that are dominating the news cycle. Curiel, what did he say about the judge?
We asked him about that. You remember yesterday he put out a lengthy statement saying he wasn't going to talk about Trump University, the case against his real estate program anymore. He wanted to move on to talk about economics and job growth. He went back on that a little bit this morning when we talked to him. He did spend a little bit of time talking about Trump University and about how he's been mistreated in the case, which is a reflection of his thoughts on the judge. But he refused to turn it into a personal attack, and said, voters don't care about this. It's not a big case, and he
tried to downplay it.
Correct, and actually tried to turn the conversation back to something, job growth and economics, which he is a little bit unusual for him.